And the new Congress being sworn in today is likely to take a close look at a growing issue for the military, and that is the number of troops who are committing suicide. Many of those deaths are connected to another problem for returning veterans, and that is a breakdown in marriage and intimacy between them and their partners. Lee Woodruff has one military couple's very personal story.
Quite frankly, when you get off the battlefield and you come home, you want to have sex, and you want to have a lot of it.
Mark Waddell had the physical desire of any man returning from war. But for this elite and accomplished Navy SEAL, the battlefield had upended his emotional bonds at home.
I felt much more comfortable in a combat zone than I did being back with my family in the United States.
Married for more than 20 years to his high school sweetheart, Marshall, they had reached a breaking point.
But I knew it was coming apart. We were unraveling, and I didn't know why.
On the surface, their family of 5 looked picture perfect.
Do you remember when you first saw one another?
We were at summer camp in Prescott, Arizona, and he had on red swim trunks. And I thought, I need to meet this guy. So
I had seen her well in advance, so well before the red trunks.
Mark worked his way up to operations director for all East Coast SEAL teams. There were years of covert missions. He lost dozens of teammates and came home with multiple injuries, trauma that slowly chipped away at the heart of his marriage.
What were the symptoms of that, Mark?
Very short-fused temper, very short-fused. I had no tolerance for anything seemingly insubordinate or meaningless.
it was chaotic and unpredictable.
It took years for Marshall and Mark to understand he was suffering from post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injuries. Both can impact intimacy.
And once you understand what's going on with your spouse, and you become a caregiver to different degrees, sex isn't great with someone that you're responsible for. It seems incestuous.
The reality of it is when you come back, a lot of times because of some of the medications, some of the psychological effects, some of the physiological lingerings from the battlefield can create times when that is just not possible.
This is the elephant in the room.
Marilyn Lash counsels the wives of wounded troops, many with brain injuries and intimacy struggles.
Demanding sex constantly, repeatedly during the day. Some of this is connected to what we call frontal lobe injury. The other pattern that we see is a loss of interest in sex and intimacy. And that's often tied into not only a loss of libido, but also depression.
Long-term effects can reach beyond just sex. Statistics show that half of all troops who committed suicide had a failed intimate relationship.
I didn't want to admit anything because I saw the bodies coming back. We were burying SEALs, we had wounded and injured SEALs, and I thought comparatively, the injuries that I had sustained, I had no reason to complain or to raise my hand and say, there's something wrong here.
Mark and Marshall eventually sought counseling. 8 years later, they're still together, but it's a work in progress.
When you look at each other, what do you see? Do you see that little boy in Prescott with the red swim trunks?
Sometimes. That's what gives me hope.
Yeah.
I don't see that person very often. I see that sadness that's just below the surface.
I think that whatever that was in that past relationship has found a new beginning, and we've taken that which was salvageable, and it's kind of like getting to date a new girl again.
Boy, I give them a lot of credit for talking about this. This is an incredibly long road back, and it's obviously they're still working, but it's really tough.
We're focused sometimes so much on the physical injuries of war and the amputees and not sort of the psychological injuries. And it is true that many military families are focused on this, as there's now more than one suicide per day. And there's a lot of new attention that needs to be focused on that. And Lee Woodruff did a fabulous job bringing this couple's story to light.
And I'm so struck by, you can see on the wife's face there how much she is going through and how difficult it is.